House to Home, presented by RE/MAX Diamond Realty.
We are talking about investment properties. Yes, on House to Home. So let's get right to it. We are wasting no time because Liz and Gina are, yes, round of applause for you guys because the gang's all back together. All three of us are here right now. Very good to see you ladies. I've missed you both. So we are talking about investment properties from the seller's perspective last time. And Gina, I'd like to open with you because you were not able to join us last week and everything. So what do people have to know about, or maybe getting back to the foundation, what exactly is a investment property? Is it a piece of real estate that has a high turnover rate?
Hey, actually, that's a good question, Jace, because we've actually had some owners who are selling a home or condo that they live in, and they get concerned that when they sell it, that the tax consequences are the same, and it's not. So an investment property is real estate that's, and it doesn't have to be a condo or a home. It could even be land, but it's investment property that you own and you're generating income from it.
Oh, that's
and yeah, it's that simple. If you're getting income from this real property, whatever it is, then when you sell that real property, the IRS will categorize it as investment income. If you report it, because when we file our tax returns, we pay taxes on the income we received. And so if you're leasing out land and you sell the land and you were receiving income from that, it will still be posted as investment property.
And their tax consequences in selling that versus if it was, Jason, if it was your private residence, and let's say you're married, you're allowed up to 500,000 where you don't, it's your primary residence. So there aren't any taxes associated with it unless it's beyond the tax limitation. Yeah. But with the investment that Gina's talking about, that's different. That's where you're generating income. And when you sell it, it's a different bracket altogether.
How much of the current market, because you both said and you both emphasized the point that right now there is not enough inventory in what's Guam's typical, real estate portfolio, say like in the aggregate, right? How much of the market typically is investment property and tends to change hands every few years ago based on its market value?
Usually
based on what?
Go ahead.
You mean based on what is based on the total number of, let's say, homes that are being sold? How much of that were investment properties?
Yeah.
Wow, Jace, I'm not. Okay, bear in mind that when we work on listings in MLS, unless it's our listing, we don't know the history behind who was in there before it was put on the market. So I don't know that our MLS system tracks that accurately. Because
that can be advantageous too.
Yeah. I'm sure it's data we can get our hands on if we had the need to track it. But our system right now currently doesn't track it. So I would say, like, I'm just talking about properties I have listed right now. I would say of the residential homes that I have listed, maybe 40% of them are actually investors that are looking to liquidate at this point.
So
now,
from the sellers, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But usually investors, when let's say an investor purchases property, they normally would hold the property for like 5 to 7 years, right, Gina? They would hold it for a certain period of time. And then when the market shifts, then they liquidate. And then they move on to another, depending on the cycle of the market at that time. But normally, like even if they get a loan, they get an interest, an adjustable interest rate when they're buying investment property, because the intention is maybe 5 to 7 years, they'll liquidate that property. Because by then they would have, the market would have shifted and hopefully have gone up. And then at that point, they can liquidate and gain a profit.
Now, is there anything specifically from the seller's perspective that makes this any riskier proposition, or like something that, even the the beginner invest, like if you come upon a piece of land, say from inheritance, you're bequeathed it from a family member that passes on, or you're given it as a graduation gift and everything like that. Is this a very good transaction to do if it's your very first foray into real estate, or is this a very complicated transaction?
That's a pretty deep question. If you're inheriting property, I say take it. Shoots. Who doesn't want free property?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's a mud hole somewhere on the island. Eventually it'll have value, or, it's got some sort of value. If I don't have to pay for it and you want to give it to me, I'll take it. So if anybody out there wants to give away property, call me. I'll take it. But if you're going to invest, and honestly, Liz and I have these conversations all the time with people, and you mentioned the word first time, right? First time investors, I always, owning investment property is not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You really have to have the personality to cope with, talking to tenants, dealing with rental issues, dealing with repairs. And sometimes it's fantastic. You just have really great tenants who never call you. And sometimes you've got tenants who call you because the light bulbs went out, or they clogged up the bathrooms and it's Sunday evening and they can't find anybody to come over. And can you please come over and help because it's clogged up?
Oh boy.
Or they lock themselves out of the house and they need someone to unlock the door.
Yeah.
So many things come up.
Yeah. And these are part of, it's like farming. When you farm, you have bugs, you have drought, you have the cost of water going up. There's all kinds of issues. In real estate, it has its own unique issues. And what I try to ask my, people that come to me and they want to invest is, are you sure you have the stomach for this? Because you really should. Because, we have people coming to us because they want to buy investment properties. And a few years down the road, they're coming to us because they want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
They can't stand being a landlord anymore. And yeah, it's any business. It's a business, right, Jace? It's like any business.
Okay, now
we always ask the question, what is your goal? What's the intent of buying this piece of property? Sometimes it would be just for a period of time, or sometimes they're buying it so they could pass it on to their kids. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is usually the sellers who liquidate their property, they would either do a 1031 exchange, liquidate, and then move the monies from that particular sale into another investment property. So there's a number of things that the sellers who are liquidating investment property, either they take the money and use it for other things, or, they give it to their heirs.
Mm-hmm. And kind of the example that's always given on Guam in the past, 10, 15 years is if you invested up in Dedido in Paradise Estates, before, when that was still like an under construction property, look how much the value would have accrued to now, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's one of
those.
The equity, I think when they first started, Gina, it was what, 275 when they started to sell those. I think when they first started, it was less than that, but then they had to increase it because there was a delay in the completion of the project. And now those homes are selling for like 400 something thousand.
Yeah, okay, it started and it's gone up that much. But Jason, I think that's across the board right now this year. I think that's across the board. No matter what you own in terms of real estate, it has gone up in value. And can I say, some people, it's like we're noticing a lot of cash buyers, and especially right now, if you have, and I'm saying this, we're seeing a lot of cash offers in the 200 to 400 range, cash. And if you have that kind of money sitting around and it's in a savings account, you're not getting
any return,
anything on it. So if you invested in real estate, and this is what people are looking at. If I bought a piece of property that's going to get me even $1,500 or $2,000 a month rent, and you times that by 12, and then you divide that by what you put into it, what the principal amount is, that's what your return is annually. And so it makes sense to put your money into real estate. And the thing I always tell is if you can tolerate the risk and if you can tolerate, being a landlord, you look at the return you're getting. And then you have to ask yourself, where else can I put this money and get that kind of return? And you can control it yourself. The market goes up, you increase the rent. The market goes down, you bring the rent down. It's hands on.
Yeah, and if they don't have the stomach to deal with the ups and downs of management, repairs, that sort of thing, then they can turn it over to a company to do the property management and let them have the headaches of dealing with the day-to-day issues.
Well, a company like Remax Diamond Realty Guam, I'm sure. Well, we're out of time. So Gina, you were saying like if anybody has property they want to do a deal on. So I've got some property. It's maybe 50 feet by 50 feet. There's a bunch of swordgrass in it and a hornet's nest over in the side, but I'll give it to you for 600 grand. We'll work out that deal. So I'm gonna do a deal with Gina and everything. We'll see you guys next week. Let's make that money.